I'm going to show you exactly how professional mixing engineers mix pieces of a song together through mixing in context. But I'm going to actually show you what it looks like in practice because so many people get this wrong. Let me show you exactly the kind of clarity you can add to your songs when you learn to correctly mix in context. Check this out. Here is before.
Ready to die, I'll give a cry. Ready to die, I'll give a cry.
It's so much more open and clear. So what are the steps for mixing in context? So step one is to get the levels of the different instruments about right in the mix, and then get their general tone shaped the way that you want it. Make sure that the dynamics are controlled using compressors, and that it's feeling pretty good. What that looks like is I have some drum triggers set up for the snare drum. I have my guitar tones figured out. I have my delays and effects set up. My vocal plugin chain is completely there. So it's pretty much like a rough mix at this point. Now, the next step is super important. You need to come up with some sort of hierarchy for what elements in your song are the most important. For some genres, vocals are always most important. For most music, vocals are most important. And then usually it's some sort of rhythm element. So drums, and then maybe one other element like bass to add groove. So when I mix for rock and metal, those are the three elements that I focus on first, starting with drums because rock and metal likes really big, punchy, powerful drums. So I go to my song and I'm going to solo the drums, okay? So let's just listen to how that sounds. Sounds pretty good for right now, but the big point here is that we're going to start adding the different important elements of the song one by one, and when we start running into issues where we lose clarity of the important elements, that's when we're going to grab the EQ and start pulling frequencies out of different elements. Everything else is kind of icing on the cake for drums. Sorry if you're a drummer. Actually, I'm not sorry. All right, bass. Put that in there. Let's make sure that the bass lives with the kick drum and the drums. Okay, so we should hear both. There should be a powerful low end, and we should feel the impact from the kick drum. Right now, for me, I don't feel the impact on the kick drum. So we have a few options. The easiest one that anybody can do is just going to add an EQ. I don't need to be fancy here. I'm just using a stock EQ. So the name of the game is boost this until we find the frequency that is just punishing the kick drum, meaning we don't hear any definition from the kick drum anymore. So let's put our kick drum in, and let's turn our bass up, and let's find the clashing frequency by ear. So like right here, we're actually getting like barely any kick drum to come through. I'm listening for the punch, okay? I can hear the top end, that's fine, but we want to hear the punch. Now that we've carved out a chunk of this, let's go to the kick drum and then add a little bit of these frequencies back in there. So it's right around 80 hertz. So here we are on the kick drum. Let's boost 80 hertz a little bit. And so what this should do is this should make these two things play a little bit nicer with each other. Let's make it a little bit broader. So that helped a little bit, but it's not enough for me yet. So another thing we can do is sidechain a compressor to the bass, or in this case, I'm going to use this duck plugin by Devious Machines. So what this is going to do is we're going to set up a sidechain fed by the kick drum. So when the kick drum hits, it's going to duck the volume down and then swell the bass back in. We can set up so that it only affects certain frequencies. We set the crossover frequency to about 300 hertz. So only 290 hertz now will be ducked, leaving the majority of the bass tone still intact. So this is just freeing up the low energy for that kick drum. And then the farther we pull us away, the longer the ducking of the volume is. So I think we're good now. So now let's play everything back. Awesome. Now that kick drum is starting to punch through. Now, I also mentioned that vocals are an important part of this song. So let's now add the vocals to everything and find the clashing frequencies, okay? So we're gonna go to the drums. We're gonna pull up an EQ on the drum bus, take an EQ on the drums and boost around until we start losing clarity in the vocal. That is where the clashing frequencies are.
Ready to die, I hear them cry. The sky turns black.
So right here, the vocals start losing some presence and the clarity. So I'm just gonna tuck a little bit of this out. Notice how much more the vocals start to come out of the mix as I make this cut. Here we go.
Into his eyes, the hell is fire. I feel
Isn't that remarkable? It's crazy. If we want the vocals to sound a little bit brighter and airy, we can do the same thing with the top end of the drum cymbals, but we just want to make sure we're not taking too much away because then the drums will sound dark.
into his eyes, the hell is fire.
When I have this boosted, the vocals feel dark, right? Watch when I cut it. The vocals get airy.
I feel he shall lost in the
That's all we need to do. So it's 1.8 dB and 1.9 dB. Next important thing, guitars. Guitars are gonna screw everything up. They occupy just the mid-range, and we're gonna have to take out a bunch of crap out of these. Just using the stock EQ. We don't need to be fancy here. Let's find the frequencies that start impacting the vocal clarity first, and then we're gonna start rolling off all the rumbly crap to open it up so that it doesn't interfere with the bass guitar, because that's also important. Here we go. I can't hear the vocals at all, but watch when I make this cut, the vocals will explode out of this mix. Let's find out what's going on in the upper frequencies too. There's just a lot going on in these guitars. Like right around here, it feels like I can't hear anything on the vocal. Do we miss those frequencies out of the guitar? Let's go back and make sure it doesn't sound really gross now. Not really. I think the guitars still sound pretty slamming. I'm just gonna turn them down. They're kind of aggressive. Let's roll off some of the low stuff just to add a little bit of space for the bass. Now, if I'm being serious here, this is not really needed at all on the guitars, I don't think. Just kind of adding this like fluff to the low end of the guitars, but that's where the bass lives, right? Okay, without this. It still sounds tight. It sounds more focused when we have this roll off on there. And I think there's some sizzly stuff that I'm not really loving. So let's bring the vocals back in and let's see if we can roll off some of these high frequencies out of the guitars to kind of give a little bit more space back to the vocals.
Lost in the vortex of my destiny. I now must face.
So you can hear the little crunchy, sizzly stuff. That's what we're going to be rolling off. So this is with it on, without it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give it a little bit of a little raise here because it felt like the guitars just kind of lost a little bit of space in the mix when we rolled off all this stuff. So let's hear how those are all sounding now together. This song has a ton of orchestral instrumentation. This is where things get ugly. You probably want to get rid of more stuff out of this than you would normally typically do. Because Because this is going on the whole time. I mean, that's like super, super epic, right? So let's put everything in, and then I'm going to boost the EQ and find the conflicting frequencies and get rid of them. Like right here is a lot of mud. And then now they sound really bright, but that's because we removed a lot of the mid-range. So let's just gently roll off some of that top end a little bit.
I now must face what fate will bring.
See, that top end sounds really good in solo, but when you put in the context of the mix, it just gets in the way of everything else, okay? So this is why it's important to have all the stuff going, so you can prioritize which frequencies are being cut and which ones can be left in. So that is a good first pass, but if we want to be more surgical, what you can do is use something like Waves Resolve. This is a new one that I'm really digging. It's called, Curves Resolve. Basically like track spacer. You're gonna feed a side chain of everything else going on in this mix. So I'm just gonna do the vocals because they're important. Let's do bass because we want our bass to stay punchy. And let's do kick drum. Why not, right? We can do anything we want. And let's do snare drum. Snare drums are important. So now what this is gonna do is it's listening to all those input sources, and it's gonna selectively remove the frequencies that are building up from those input sources from everything in the production elements, okay? Because they're the bottom of the list. We don't really care too much about the tonality, so it's gonna set a generic EQ profile when we click learn and hit play. All right, good enough. We're gonna hit stop. Scan complete. Now we can use the dynamic or steady. Dynamic means that it's going to react with the input source more. And so if there's nothing present, it's going to like stop removing frequencies, which is what we want. That's going to be the cleanest sound. It's not just dynamically lowering the volume. It's actually finding the buildup of frequencies and pulling them out. Okay, so the sidechain content, because we have so much stuff going on, let's just leave it as full range. Just dial us up, and that'll determine how much frequencies are getting pulled out. You have this cranked up, like those horns just completely disappear because they're getting attenuated so heavily. So let's go a little bit easy on this. We're just gonna find a sweet spot where we just hear like something happening to those horns and everything, and then let's just back it down a little bit. Okay, so right there I can hear that something's happening, so I'm gonna back this a little bit. Here we go. When the vocal stops singing, the high end of the horns kind of comes back in to fill that gap that we have there when the vocals aren't present. So this is a way to really maximize the amount of excitement across everything going on in the mix. Okay, another option besides that is something called track spacer. You'd set up the same way where you enable the side chains and then you'd feed the same side chains in, except it's a little bit less intelligent because it doesn't have a preset notion or preset EQ of what the input source should sound like. Why that matters is because it might change the tonality more aggressively if you have more frequencies in one region of the frequency spectrum than others. But they both work pretty well. So don't feel like you're missing out if you have track spacer and don't have curves resolve or vice versa. Now, one last thing, and this is a bonus. If you're having trouble knowing what frequencies to cut, you see me boosting stuff, I have a free mixing cheat sheet. You can go and download that in the description. All right, now for real, the other free bonus that I was talking about. You should also do this with your send effects as well, okay? So if you're using a shared reverb on a bunch of vocals and guitars and all this stuff, guess what? Those frequencies build up and they probably need to be EQ'd out. So let's just crank up this reverb as loud as we can go, and let's try to find the muddy frequencies when we have the vocals present. Why just the vocals? Is because only the vocals are going through this reverb.
I hear the cry. The sky turns black.
Right here is where I'm getting Like it just makes the vocal sound a little muddy. Okay, so I'm gonna cut that out a little bit there.
I now must face what fate will bring.
There's a little bit of this weird resonance here, and that's it. Like, I don't really think pulling anything else out is gonna fix anything. And now that EQ is gonna have a nice shape to it where it folds in underneath the vocal without burying the vocal. If you want a reverb or delay plugin that does this stuff automatically, I actually made one. It's called Clarity Delay. It has automatic focus and soften features. This is gonna clean up mud. This takes away harshness, and it's got a built-in EQ. It does all this crap that I'm doing here in one plugin, so you don't need like 5 plugins to set up clean vocals. Definitely worth checking out. You can grab a demo of that in the description. So let's try to find gross frequencies with this distortion sound effect, and then we should be good to go.
I feel he
Oh, right here.
lost in the
Right, it sounds like someone's covering the mouth of the vocalist on our distortion track, so let's EQ that out.
vortex of my destiny.
Just a little bit right there.
I now must face what fate will bring.
Is there anything sharp we should get rid of?
Wielding the power of primeval beings.
Maybe a little bit here.
Forgotten voices speak to me.
We don't need to overthink this. When we play everything back, you'll notice there's gonna be so much more clarity here.
Heavy, my senses dull. My head is heavy, my senses dull. Ready to die, I hear the cry. Ready to die, I hear the cry.
So hopefully this video showcases exactly how pro mixers fit everything together like a glove. This frees up all of those clashing frequencies out of your mixes, adds incredible clarity and focus to the mid-range and the sub of your mix, and then also gives it a spatial quality so it feels like you can visualize where every single instrument is in the mix. So the next time you mix a track, get everything mixed the way you want it, give your ears a break, take 30 minutes away from your studio, come back, and then on the group level of each instrument, add an EQ, start with the prioritized list of which instruments you want to focus on, and then start notching out different things to make sure that the instruments, when they're all together, have a place to live. Now, tell me in the comments, did you find this video helpful? Was it eye-opening? Did you think mixing in context meant something else? Let me know. And if you think I forgot something, just drop a comment. I won't get mad, I promise. If anything, it'll start a conversation and people can learn from that. I also have a free mixing cheat sheet you can grab in the description as well. Do you like tutorials like this from someone who actually mixes music professionally? Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single video. My name is Bobby Balo, the mixing mastering engineer at Rayton Productions. I'll see you in another video.